Motorsport 411 presents
all the four and two-wheeled action.
Motorsport 411 with Sean Cardovillis.
Welcome to Motorsport 411, your home for all your four and two-wheel action in Africa. Coming up in this episode, we wrap up the recently concluded Motocross of African Nations event that took place in South Africa. We speak to Sheldon Watkins, the former team manager who participated for South Africa in the competition. And we catch up with motorsports enthusiast Shafic Kiyaga of Pulse Sports, who rounds up Uganda's performance in the event in Cape Town.
All the four and two-wheeled action. Motorsport 411.
Welcome to the show.
We'll be playing each country's national anthem that is represented here in the MX of African Nations down at Zone 7 in Cape Town, South Africa. 217 riders from across Africa. What a feeling.
So the Motocross of African Nations was held just outside of Cape Town, with Kenya finishing 6th overall and second best in East Africa. The best performance being second overall in the MX50 category.
And we're racing! Oliver Matthews, Amani.
While the women finished third overall.
Will she be able to pull this one off again? Here she comes now, but Kayla Off is right on her case. Then we've got Nzinga.
Now, as we mentioned earlier, the Motocross of African Nations was held over the weekend in South Africa. Shafic Kiyaga of Pulse Sports is a motorsports enthusiast. Shafic, thank you so much for joining us on Motorsport 411. Now, Uganda finishing 5th overall at the Motocross of African Nations. Your thoughts on Uganda's performance?
Well, I think it wasn't the best performance that we could get, but it was good enough if you to consider everything that was around the race. Starting from the logistics challenges, then it being South Africa and the nature of the track, the team only had one chance to train on the track and get a feel of it. So I think that is where we saw some of the challenges. It is indeed a downgrade from the performance we had last year when we hosted the race in Uganda, where we finished that. This time finishing 5th rather overall is a bit of a downgrade, but as I've explained before, given the circumstances around the race, I think that is very good from the boys. They showed their talent, they showed their potential, and the bit of determination was good for them to go.
Yeah, it was always going to be a disadvantage for the East African nations in particular because the logistics involved, that was going to determine the budgets and, of course, getting the bikes and the people there to South Africa.
From Uganda's perspective, I think they had done well in terms of preparations for the race. FMU, that is the Federation of Motorsports Clubs of Uganda, had told the rider parents that they will be footing the bill of the logistics involved with traveling and taking the bikes all the way down to South Africa. And they got there on time. I think the team reached on Wednesday and the bikes had got there before them. But the challenge started from there in terms of clearing some of the bikes ahead of the race. The head of the delegation, who is also the DVP of FMU, Reynold Chivira, had to run up and down to get the bikes cleared. By that time, some of the other riders had started to think of an alternative solution to that. Some of them had to go out and rent bikes that were available in South Africa. And then, it spiraled down to when the scrutineering was done. Then when the team had to test and get a feel of the track, and all those challenges are meanwhile playing on your mentality, your preparedness as a rider for the race. I don't know how Kenya and Tanzania really got to perform in terms of clearing their bikes, but I'm sure they also faced the same challenges to get their bikes through to South Africa. And this was the only bad bit about the entire race and their organization. I think they did everything, the rest well.
Now, what stood out most for the Ugandans during the competition?
Obviously, it has to be Stav Holland. He won MX2 and managing to win all the 3 hits yes, we knew he was going to be a formidable rider in that category, but for him to go on and beat Dalton Venter and on his home turf and all the South Africans, because the top 5 finishers in the MX2 were all South Africans. So for him to come and beat them at their own turf was really impressive. He was there in March, April, before the Central Africa Motocross Championship that happened here in Uganda. And I think it was the 3rd round of the South African Motocross Championship. He finished 2nd. And, since then he set his target to try to beat the South Africans in South Africa. And it came at the right time, in the right moment. And he is definitely a force to reckon with going forward.
Now, the Katende boys, they took part in the Junior World Motocross Championships a few weeks ago. Jonathan Katende, a disaster for him in South Africa.
It was the only circuit. I'll tell you a story. When the Katendes, after the race in Romania, and they came back to Uganda, they really started preparing so much for this race because they knew all eyes will be on them. These are the boys that are just coming from the World Championships, and they had done quite, significantly well, given the lack of experience at that level. And they had incorporated some of the things they had learned from the World Championships, including their corner speeds, how do they approach the corners, and all that. For what happened to Jonathan Katende to happen in the corner really was unexpected. And by that time, he was running quite well. He was inside the top 10. I think that was around the 6th lap. By the 4th lap, he was top 6, top 7, and he was really running so well in that first heat. When I looked at him with his bike, on the side, and then him crestfallen, I thought there's no way really he would be coming back in the race, even though he had a night to sleep over it and all that. But for him to come back in the 2nd and 3rd heat, and get the 9 points and collect the 18 points for Team Uganda in the MX65. Remember, he is a couple of years younger than his older brother Miguel Katende, and it showed a different side of him, the competitor that he is.
Shafic Kiyaga of Pulse Sports, thank you so much for speaking to us on Motorsport 411.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
We'll be back.
All the 4 and 2-wheeled action. Motorsport 411. Motorsport 411.
So welcome back. Now, as we mentioned earlier, the Motocross of African Nations was held over the weekend in South Africa.
And is Leah Haygate going to be able to pull this one out of the bag? Oh, yes, she is. Great start from Leah Haygate. But oh, look at Delima. JD Delima goes up into 2nd place.
Now, Sheldon Watkins is a former team manager for South Africa and competed in this event. Sheldon, thank you so much for speaking to us on Motorsport 411. Congratulations, South Africa winning the event. You must be pleased, and you were also a participant.
Yes, I was, and it was a good event, and we're happy to walk away with a win again.
Just tell us which category you were competing in.
I was in the MX3 veteran class.
And how did that go for you personally?
I had a few issues here and there, but nothing major. And I got the result that I was pretty much looking for. I could have done a bit better, but I'm happy with the results I got. I came 5th overall. So on Saturday in the first heat, I had a puncture from lap 2 onwards, and that didn't allow me to catch the guys up in front, and I had to push hard for the guys behind me not to catch me, and I finished about the 5th overall on Saturday. And then Sunday, which was heat 1, which was basically heat 2 for the weekend, I came 4th. I was catching 3rd place, and I was there, and then I ran into a few lappers, and then I finished behind him, I think about 8 seconds at the finish. And then last heat, the track was really rough, and on the second last lap I made a mistake, and I put the bike down, and I finished 5th overall, 6th overall, so in that heat. So I got a 5th overall for the weekend,
How rusty were you feeling on the track?
Ridden the track before. They haven't really made any changes. The jumps were a little bit smaller than what they were at the National about 6 months ago. So that was a bit of a surprise to us, the South African riders. And then there was slight changes, but nothing major. And then, so the track, that was the roughest that track's ever gotten, because we used to riding with 140 riders at a national, not 219 like there was this past weekend. And then, so my fitness wasn't the issue. It was just my arms got tired, and the last few laps, the track was really beat up.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing from other people, how rutted the track was, and also with it being sandy. How difficult was it for you throughout the weekend?
I didn't battle compared to what I would thought I would have. So I didn't really battle that much. I was quite surprised with my riding, and my trainer was also very happy with the way I was riding. So yeah, no, I didn't really battle with the track at all. Maybe just the sand pit right at the bottom on the Saturday was worse than where it was on the Sunday, surprisingly enough. The lines actually got better on the second day than the first day.
Now, of course, you've been team manager before for South Africa. In terms of the competition and in terms of the quality of racing in this event, what were your thoughts?
So compared to last year, it was a lot better in terms of competition. Obviously, last year was Uganda, where I was team manager, and not all the countries made it out, and not all the riders made it out. So I think there was almost double the amount of riders this year. And there's a lot of riders that I haven't seen or haven't raced for a good number of years. I ended up racing a guy that used to train me when I was on an 85cc, and then a guy that I used to race on 125 was about 15, 16 years ago. Yeah. So it was good to see those guys, and the competition has stepped up. I mean, if you look at the MX2 class, MX1 class, a lot of guys came back to racing, and then also the MX3 class.
South Africa was expected to win the event. Your thoughts on the level of competition within South Africa? How's the standard of motocross at the moment?
It's very good. The guys are getting faster and faster. They're putting in the effort and putting in the work. Just the number of riders that we should be having at a normal race weekend is not what it should be. I mean, it is an expensive sport, and the economy isn't as strong as it used to be. But the sport is still healthy, and it's growing slowly, but not as quickly as we'd like. Yeah.
Your thoughts on the general state of the sport around Africa? You saw people come in from, as far as East Africa for this. Your thoughts of it? Do you see them catching up bit by bit with South Africa?
Yeah, they're all going to catch up slowly. But I think the sport is healthy. I mean, we had guys coming from Morocco, Madagascar, Tanzania had a team again. So it's starting to show that more countries are pulling into the FIM, Motocross African nations, and it's starting to show that there's more interest coming through, and it's only going to grow stronger from here, I think.
So I guess you're really just limited by the vastness of the continent, and you know how difficult it is to move the equipment from country to country.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, last year when we went to Uganda, it cost us, I think we had only 17 riders that went out because it was so far away, middle of Africa, and it was expensive. I mean, some of us flew bikes, which was quite an expensive experience, and then some of the guys drove their bikes up, which was also quite a mission. I mean, I think it took the guy that drove the bikes, I think about 5-6 days to get the bikes there. So it is going to be a bit more difficult. Depends on where the racing is.
Sheldon, where is the next event going to be, and when?
It's next year. I think it's also in August, and I'm not sure the exact dates, but it's normally around about August, and I think it's Marrakesh in Morocco.
That's going to be quite a task to get the bikes and everything up there, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've already looked at what it would cost to just fly there and then maybe hire a bike from Spain, because I have been up there before, not into Morocco, but I've been to Marseille in Spain, and it's about a half an hour by ferry. So maybe hire a bike in Spain and bring it over. But I mean, how many guys and how many bikes are available for hire for all the countries? That's the next question. And to get the bikes up there is going to be a hell of a task. Not just the bikes, the equipment, is there fuel available, all of that stuff as well. So yeah, it's going to be quite a mission, I think, for that one.
So I guess as a final question, you were happy with South Africa defending their title?
Yes, definitely. Of course, yeah. Yeah, of course. South Africa's won it, I think, more times than any other country. I didn't expect Zimbabwe to be so strong in terms of their results. I thought Zambia would finish a strong second again. But yeah, it's good to see that they're there and that to see Namibia's back up and racing at the Motocross African Nations. I mean, they were missing last year. And yeah, so it's good South Africa won it again.
Sheldon Watkins, who participated in the Motocross of African Nations, thank you so much for speaking to us on Motorsport 411.
It's a pleasure, and thank you guys.
We'll be back.
Motorsports 411 with Sean Cardovillis.
So that's it for the show this week. Our thanks very much to Sheldon Watkins and Shafic Kiyaga. Our thanks as always to Big City Studio. I'm Sean Cardovillis. See you next week.